When I'm doing the studies for these scripts, I'm starting to feel the intense pace of our progressive technological advancement in society. Leaders of countries, or anybody really that has to lead people in situations where necessity is involved, are faced with hard ethical decisions. Some just tend to focus on personal gain to the detriment of others involved. Some will try to do what they feel is the right thing. One thing I've learned is that real life situations are complex and messy, often involving many steps of varying difficulty and outcome. When I think about attempting to remain objective, it just sort of seems like an idea of the past. What you really need is a probability calculator, not an impartial judge, so to speak. The real issue is whether the person who has to make the decisions has an ethic that will serve the greater good. We're all facing similar slow walk brain syndrome where the reality is too complex for us to navigate, especially in volatile situations. Appealing to authorities gets us closer, but it's just like an inch closer to the goal on a road that is miles long. Artificial intelligence in its advanced form is the mechanism we need to get closer to omniscience. The notion of looking to the upright nature of a person to gauge whether or not a decision is ethical will kind of just be this thing of the past. Ethics will become a probabilistic calculation. I'm not saying there will be a definite answer all the time or that navigating reality will cease to be turbulent. What I'm saying is that you'll be able to choose an ethic and then probabilities for success for certain scenarios will pop up. I remember a quote by Vladimir Lenin. There are no morals in politics, there's only expedience. A scoundrel may be of use to us just because he's a scoundrel. Some may begin to use seemingly destructive ethics, but to achieve the greater good. This is what I think Machiavelli was getting at in The Prince. Imagine a system that just knows what's going on in the world at the moment with the same kind of perspective in a calculated sense that generative AI seems to have at the moment. Then imagine you put in the goal you want to achieve. Then there's a drop down that says something like ethic type. Under that type, you'd have humanist, religious with different religious subgroups, utilitarian, relativism, existentialism, amoralism. But then you could see the probability of achieving whatever goal it is that you entered. The output would be something like the highest probability of achieving the goal is under an amoralist ethic. I'm guessing amoralism wins a lot. We have to do better than that. We have to try to be better than that, even if it's a little bit harder. Anyway, a system like this sort of dates the idea of a trusted, objective observer making ethical judgments, and the whole notion of it sort of has a yesteryear type of ambiance to it. We're moving fast, guys, crazy fast. I really feel it when I write these scripts, but I want to do a job with you. Let's keep it connected as things advance. And let's make the change happen that needs to happen now so that humanity can keep up with its own progress. Let's talk about the ideal observer theory. Ideal observer theory is a metaethical view that suggests ethical sentences express true or false propositions about the attitudes of a hypothetical ideal observer. In simpler terms, it proposes that ethical judgments should be interpreted as statements about the reactions of a fully neutral and fully informed observer. Key characteristics of the ideal observer: omniscient. They possess complete knowledge of all relevant facts. Omnipercipient. They can perceive all relevant facts at once and imagine themselves in various situations. Impartial. They are unbiased and disinterested, not favoring any particular outcome or individual. Dispassionate. They're not influenced by emotions or personal desires. Consistent. They apply the same moral standards to all situations. If an ideal observer would approve of an action, then that action is morally good. Conversely, if an ideal observer would disapprove of an action, then that action is morally wrong. For example, when considering whether lying is wrong in a specific situation, we would ask, what would an omniscient, impartial, emotionally stable observer conclude about this action? The theory has several important implications. Moral truths are objective but mind-dependent. Moral judgments should be free from personal bias and emotional interference. Perfect knowledge of facts is necessary for perfect moral judgment. However, the theory faces some significant criticisms. The impossibility of achieving such ideal observation in practice, questions about whether stripping away all emotion is actually desirable for moral reasoning, concerns that different ideal observers might still reach different conclusions. It's sort of bleak that a system that calculates our path based on our goals, like the one I mentioned earlier, might turn us into an ends justify the means type people. If I put my goals into a system and then the probability of achieving my goals is always highest when I choose amoralism, that's problematic. People are already inherently selfish. I'm afraid the truth about the indifferent nature of the machine we're part of will crush that last bit of soul that we have. I guess in the past, as well as now, there's something about how we define our goals. If there's capitalist competition in the future, the goals that a person enters into the system might revolve around that competition. And amoralism may more times than not be the suggestion. If the goal is just to be a better person, maybe utilitarianism, maybe virtue ethics. Maybe there will be a personality assessment, which includes your goals, then assigns different ethics for you in different areas of your life to round out sharp edges. This is coming in the near future. This notion of an impartial, objective observer, I think still assumes the person accepts a basic humanistic ethic of preservation of life and avoidance of suffering. We took it for granted in the past, and why shouldn't we have? It's absurd to question it. But as we march into a village-type world with the internet, the absurd has definitely gained influence, so we can't expect it to be the kind of disease of the few anymore. We're moving into terminal territory. If you guys like to talk about this kind of stuff, you like this kind of philosophical subject matter, help us out by liking the video and subscribing to the